This is the sound of a nation that still believes in faith, in family, in freedom. This is for the ones who punch the clock, pay their taxes, and still believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Living the American dream.
Brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
This is Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, happy birthday, America 250. It's a great time to be alive. Great to be in America, putting America first. Thank you for joining me to celebrate life, liberty, and the ongoing pursuit of happiness for Illinois and beyond. This is Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr and my co-host Gretchen Fritz. I am the Republican nominee for the Illinois 14th District. Joining you in the fight to remove left of the squad, Lauren Underwood, bring representation and sanity back to Illinois and Washington. Join the fight and let's save the American dream. So Gretchen's
excellent.
Yes, and Gretchen is a veteran of On Target Radio, a former Will County board member, and a former member of the Illinois State Rifle Association Board.
Correct. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this with you.
Yeah, so this is awesome. So we also have Pastor Paul Blair, former Chicago Bear, on the line with us, and we want to get right to that. So let's start not with the elephant, but the bear in the room. You were in the Bears during the 1980s. Tell us a little bit about that. Get us warmed up. What's your favorite memory or a top 10 moment from your time on the team?
Well, first of all, Jim and Gretchen, what an honor to be on the show with you guys today. Sounds like I am on the right program. This is Christian and patriotic, and we fit right in. So thank you for having me. Of course, we're coming back up to Chicago pretty soon, but background about myself, I was drafted out of Oklahoma State in 1986. I was drafted in the very next draft, sadly, after we won the Super Bowl. So I was part of the defending world champion Chicago Bears, but played alongside, Walter Payton, the legend in the game for his last two seasons, and under, Iron Mike Ditka, alongside Singletary and Hampton and McMichael and Jim McMahon and that bunch. So it was literally being on a team that was full of NFL legends, and it was just an honor to be a part of that incredible franchise. And
yeah,
of course,
that's amazing. I mean, you just bring back a flood of memories. I mean, I love the Bears. I loved watching the Bears, especially the 1985, 86, and beyond Bears. So that's awesome to hear that.
Well, it's fun, Jim. I have not been in Chicago much the last 4 decades, and not by design or intent, just haven't been up there much. And I was up in Chicago speaking at a deal for the Illinois Family Policy Council maybe 2 months ago. So I went back by the Bears headquarters, and I called them to see if I could, as an alum, stop in and get a tour of the place. And, they just treated me like gold. I mean, once you're a part of that family, and you're just always a part of that family. And then, getting off the airport or out of the airplane and getting a rental car there in Chicago, you make mention of the fact that you're part of the 80s Bears, and they just roll out the red carpet for you. I mean, truly, we have the best sports fans in the world. So maybe the Bears are back to giving them another Super Bowl this year. We certainly are hungry for one and hope that they can accomplish it and think they can.
That would be exciting. I mean, it was an exciting season, right? Recently,
I think they're on the right track. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch last year. So, so you went from being a football player on an awesome team, right, to being a pastor, and then to found Liberty Pastors. So, of course, our show is about faith, family, and freedom. God bless you for being here. God bless America. So tell us about your journey. How did you get there? How did football take you to the path you're on today?
Well, I grew up in a conservative family. I mean, my father was a bivocational pastor, and as such, I had great respect for pastors and loved pastors, obviously. But it was a job that I'd seen up close as the son of a pastor, and it was something I did not want to do personally. It's a difficult job. You carry the burdens of all your people, and it's like being, Cindy and I often reference it's like being in the front seat of a station wagon, having 400 or 500 unruly, disobedient children in the back, taunting and pestering each other. And you're always having to say, "Hey, don't make me stop that car. And if I have to come back there, you're gonna be sorry." But, that's part of the shepherding of your congregation. And so it was something that I personally never wanted to do, and really didn't need the job. I had my own business. I was retired from a 5-year career in the NFL, and Cindy and I were raising our children and serving in church, and we're very happy. And at the age of 37, it was just very evident through a series of events that I won't take the time to go into now, but it's very evident that the Lord was calling. And I don't believe that pastoring is a career choice. I think there are a lot of jobs in ministry that can be careers, but I think that pastoring, much like prophets in the Bible, are called by God. And, we just absolutely believed that we were being called. And my wife gave wise counsel. She said the safest place to be is right in the middle of the Lord's will. So we said yes. And now I've been a senior pastor for 25 years. Our church is in Oklahoma City area, right in the middle of the state. And we also have a satellite and do a lot of work down the state of Florida, and have for a number of years. And so we travel back and forth between Orlando and Oklahoma City, and we're preaching in both locations on a monthly basis. So it was not a direct connection, but it was probably more family. The fact that my father was a World War II veteran, having served in the Navy, so we were a very patriotic family. And then my dad was a bivocational pastor, so I grew up in that kind of a background. And when I grew up and settled down, and the Lord wound up calling me into the same line of service.
So, we have an insider on my campaign who has attended one of your pastor training camps. Mm-hmm. And as he tells me, he drove 13 hours, I think you and your wife, and to attend, and there's one in Illinois at the end of the month. So we have this Liberty Pastors Worldview Training Camp, July 27th through the 30th, 2026 at the Hilton Oakbrook Hills and Resorts Conference Center in Chicago. So tell us about the camps. Tell us about this being our 250th year of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness here in America, celebrating that. And tell us about the role of the pastors and the clergy in our nation's founding and throughout those important years.
Absolutely. Well, we all will sit here and say Jesus is Lord of all. I mean, that just comes out of our mouths automatically. But it doesn't seem like we really mean it when you think about the fact that most pastors have been taught to self-censor their subject matter in church. They'll say, I can't talk about political things, or I can't talk about economics or things of that nature. That's not spiritual. And the truth of the matter is we have compartmentalized our lives, much like the ancient Greek Gnostics did, where they had their spiritual life and then their real life, and the two should not meet. Well, that's nonsense. The Hebraic foundation of Christianity and the Jewish worldview is that you glorify God in all that you do. As a matter of fact, the Apostle Paul said that, whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Well, I asked pastors on opening night, what part of your life is Jesus not the Lord over? And you write that list down and you staple that to your pulpit, and those are the subjects that you aren't allowed to talk about in church. But the reality is he's the Lord over all of our lives. And the Bible speaks a great amount about everything, including human sexuality, including economics. And quite frankly, we all know that God created this realm called civil government. Well, there's a lot to say about why and what it's there for if we study the scriptures. And the fact is, you go back to the pastors that were the byproduct of the Great Awakening in the 1740s. And it was a group of pastors that recognized the incremental steps toward tyranny that were being poured out upon the colonists by their own king. And they felt that they were being attacked. It wasn't by the Spanish king. It wasn't by the French king. They were being attacked by their own king, as they were British citizens, but they were being denied their rights. And, they weren't a bunch of hotheads that just grabbed their rifles and ran to the town square. I mean, they met the first two Continental Congresses, and all they did was send letters to the king asking that he treat them in accordance with proper English law.
Right.
And then, and one of the last things that people, we always hear about, taxation without representation, which quite frankly, if I have the ability to, if I could just declare, Jim, I'm taking half of your paycheck and you can't say anything about it. Well, truthfully, you've just become my slave. If I can control your labor and your product, or I'm just going to steal it from you. So, that's the way that our colonists felt. But the biggest threat was to their religious liberty. If you haven't seen the movie The Great Awakening, I recommend you do. It's about
so we're coming up on a break, so we're gonna come back to that. We come back. I just want to touch on one thing that you said. So you were talking about pastors. Well, I felt that everything you said applies to us lay people. Like we've been indoctrinated,
Absolutely.
we've been coached, we've been shied in to say don't talk about this stuff. So we'll get that. We'll talk more about that. We'll come right back after the break. Looking forward to hear more about this. What about you?
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Now, back to the show about faith, family, and freedom. You're listening to Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Jim Martyr here, your Republican nominee for U.S. Congress in the 14th District with Gretchen Fritz. And we've got Pastor Paul Blair with us. And we want to get back to the conversation that was going on right before the break. So let's go back there to the Great Awakening. And I think, Gretchen, you had a question, too.
My question is about the conference, but what was it that you were wanting to say about the Great Awakening movie?
Well, the Great Awakening movement was a very accurate portrayal, but it was that revival that really unified the 13 colonies to start thinking more as a team. There was unity between the Christian denominations. But the thing that was so novel is it was the pastors that taught politics from a biblical perspective. And of course, you go all the way back to the Pilgrims, and it was pastors that really were leaders in the community for that 150 years leading up to the Declaration of Independence. And they realized that the Bible said that the purpose of civil government was to punish evil and to protect the good, that we may live peaceably in all godliness. And whenever any government, in fact, these are the very words that Jefferson used, when any government becomes tyrannical and oppressive, then the people have the unalienable right to throw it off and alter it or abolish or replace it or amend it. So it was the pastors, really, that were the teachers of poli-sci among the 3 million colonists when we finally declared independence. But what I would invite the pastors to do is enjoy a free, almost free gift. What we want to do is we want to invite pastors to come and join us at the beautiful Hilton Oakbrook in Oakbrook, Illinois. It's a golf resort, beautiful, fantastic hotel. About a $2,000 value, as our donors are going to provide the 3 nights hotel, luxury accommodations, and 6 meals. And if you've ever had 6 meals in a hotel, they charge you out the wazoo at hotels. It's about a $2,000 value, and all it costs a pastor is a $99 registration fee. We want them to come and enjoy a second honeymoon and enjoy some world-class speakers, men like Tim Barton and Bill Federer and Rick Green and others that are phenomenal historians on America's heritage and our Christian heritage. And then we also teach truth, and we want to educate these pastors on some of the threats that we face today. Primarily, we give them some basics on Islamism, communism, and globalism, which are the 3 big isms that are trying to take down our republic here called the United States. So we invite every pastor, and the subsidy is primarily for pastors. Anybody can come, because as I said a moment ago, it is about $2,000. It costs us about $2,000 per couple that attends. But pastors, it's only a $99 registration fee, and the rest is picked up. If someone else wants to come, it's still heavily subsidized, so we welcome anybody, but it's $4.99 for non-pastors. But we're really trying to reach pastors primarily because they're the disciple makers. We're supposed to be teaching our congregations to think biblically in the world. So there's nothing off limits. I mean, we want to educate these pastors to where they know that they cannot self-censor. They've got to be on the front line in the battle of truth. And quite frankly, Jim, I don't know if you knew it, but at the time of the signing of the Declaration, Of course, there was not a federal constitutional mandate, but the original state constitutions in every state, all 13, you had to be a Christian or you could not serve in office.
Absolutely, right.
Because
Right.
the necessity, if we have a small civil government, in other words, we have few policemen and few rules, then we must have great self-government. So we must have good neighbors. We must be good neighbors. We must know right from wrong and choose to do right from wrong if we don't want a policeman on every corner and lots of jails to make sure and keep people in line. So that's the key to freedom that our founders understood. If we wanted a small federal government, a limited civil government, then we had to be moral, self-governing people. That was the direct link between Christianity and our republic.
Without a doubt. So tell us about some of the speakers that the pastors will hear on July 27th to 30th.
Well, of course, David Barton and his son Tim are legendary, and they've established a phenomenal museum, about 200,000 articles that predates 1830. And, of course, they teach the basics of the influence of Christianity on the development and framing of our republic. Bill Feder, another just walking marvel. Kevin Freeman, who has a show on the Blaze called The Economic War Room. Kevin will talk about money and talk about inflation in these areas, and also talk about the war that China has had on America since the turn of the century. We'll have Frank Gaffney there, who used to be the founder of the Center for Security Policy in Washington, D.C., worked for the Reagan administration. Frank will talk about Islam and the threat of political Islam that we face today. And then a real treasure, if you've never heard him, K. Carl Smith, wonderful black brother in Christ and great patriot, veteran for 20-plus years service in the military. He's written a book called the Frederick Douglass Republicanism. And this is a phenomenal tool in the minority culture when you realize that Frederick Douglass actually started life as a slave, wound up becoming a very wealthy, successful businessman and counselor to 5 presidents. But the principles of liberty were, in fact, our principles of liberty. We have biblical principles that our forefathers held on to and cherished. Douglass recognized how true they were and preached them. So we got wonderful sources. Go ahead.
And he is fantastic. I actually have 2 of his books on my lap right here, right now. They were given to me by a close friend and associate and supporter. And so the 2 books that I have is Telling Conservatives the Truth, leveraging the life of empowering values of Frederick Douglass to Save America, K. Carl Smith, and then 2 Worldviews, One America, Douglass versus Marx. So this is interesting, but it's because it's kind of like me versus Lauren Underwood, where I'm aligned with Frederick Douglass, and she's aligned with Karl Marx. So how you got that for?
And isn't that ironic?
Right. But anyway, great books. I'm just getting started on them, but I wanted to drop that in there. But yeah, tell us about the rest of them. So we had a couple other folks on the agenda.
And one that you may have heard, Alex Newman is a freelance journalist, and he will be speaking on globalism and also what's gone wrong in our public education. But he is brilliant, and these guys are all so entertaining. They're so well studied. So this is 20 hours of continuing education, teaching pastors, in fact, anybody that wishes to attend, on subjects things that they have never been taught, because these are areas that most of us in our seminary training or background have never gone through. But they're all biblical, and they're all things that our founders and framers cherished and clung to. And they are why America has been the exception of all governments. There's been nothing like ours, and there is a reason. So we teach these pastors and all who attend all of this. And then they get we let pastors out mid-afternoon so they and their wives are able to enjoy, like I said, a second honeymoon at a luxury resort, some wonderful shopping there in the Oak Brook area as well. So we invite anybody that wishes to come. Again,
and do you have any? Yeah, do you have any final thoughts? We're getting close to the break. I wanted to give you a chance to, just tell our audience here, and this is the best audience in Illinois and the Chicagoland area by far.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So, any other final thoughts for them?
Yeah, this education has always been critical, but it's imperative now, Jim. And the reason being is I've never seen journalists and I've never seen politicians that will just look straight in the camera or look you straight in the face and lie straight out. So if you don't know what truth is, it'll be very easy to be deceived because these people are very convincing. And when you have a Republican who's maybe saying the truth and a Democrat who's lying through his teeth, but they're both looking at the camera telling you something different and you don't know what the truth is, then you have a dilemma. And then if you're a pastor, you really have a dilemma because you cannot counsel your people. So especially in our day and age, because we were at the threshold of losing it over COVID. And thank God we're still here. And thank God we have President Trump in office.
Amen.
But we need to hang on to what our founders and framers gave us because it won't come around again if we lose it.
How do people register for the camp?
Liberty Pastors U. Just go to libertypastorsu.com and you'll find a tab there that talks about upcoming events. And they can just register right there online. Doesn't take 5 minutes. Again, for pastors, it's a $2,000 value. Pastors, it's only $99, and that includes his wife. For others, it's only $4.99. So come and join us. Let's fill it up.
All right. Well, if you're out there listening, share this with your pastor or your leaders in your faith communities that may be interested in going to this. So let's get the word out. I'm glad to help you. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on our show, Pastor Paul Blair, and looking forward to seeing you soon here in the Chicagoland area.
Thank you, Jim and Gretchen.
If you love life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you're in the right place. More of Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, everybody, this is Jim Martyr, your Republican nominee for U.S. Congress in Illinois' 14th District. We'll get to my opponent in this segment. It's time for a campaign update. A lot of people would like to know what it's like to be a congressional candidate, what our experience is. It's not my first rodeo. That's a good thing, by the way.
Yes.
And how they fit with our platform and the issues that you care about and I care about, which is faith, family, freedom, and saving America. So, we're coming off this 2024 election with President Trump, and I can't even imagine where we'd be without that. So literally, if you recall, the theme of the 2024 election was Save America. It was Keep America Great in 2016, or Make America Great Again in 2016,
yeah.
And then Keep America Great in 2020. But right. it came back to, it's like, well, we're in a world of hurt after 4 years of Biden
yes.
and Underwood and others and Pelosi and the crazies in Washington. And so it's about saving America, and that's why the show is titled that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's excellent. It's so clear that the difference when you go from a Trump to a Biden, then back to a Trump administration, the difference between these communists who call themselves Democrats, but they're really actually communists. The difference is so stark. And I heard someone say the other day that Trump really isn't a Republican or a Democrat. And, he loves America so much.
That's right. He loves America.
It is, whatever you feel about the way he says things or the choices that he makes, it's so clear how much he loves America. He's just passionate about America.
Yeah. I got that. I got to meet him in a couple of occasions, only once personally. So I actually got to meet him in Mar-a-Lago, get a picture with him. It was only like 15, 20 seconds, but,
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity before that in 4 or 5 different private fundraisers, which I was a donor at, a fairly significant donor at those events. And so you're in a room where he's talking off cuff to the folks, but hearing a lot of stuff you would normally hear in one of the rallies or things, but talking to a room and really interacting with the room. So I was anywhere from 15 to 30 feet away in every single one of these settings. One of them actually was at his golf course in New Jersey, Trump National there, and it was a fundraiser for another congresswoman, and I was literally like 6 feet away from the podium there, which is awesome. And but just getting to know him through that. I remember back in 2016 watching that election, and I was not on Team Trump in the primary of 2016, but I also happened to be a little candidate in a big race.
Sure.
and that was a unique perspective as running for federal office in the state of Illinois or running for Congress like I'm doing now. And just you're in a different mindset than I ever was just being a voter for every other election,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's the first time I stepped back, and I had my guy in that race, but I wasn't like, rah, rah, let's go my guy in that race. I had my own
Right.
race to worry about.
Right.
And watching Trump that year and seeing all of my friends, associates, people I just met, some people I knew for a long time, just start gravitating toward Trump. And the things he was saying, and the rally in Springfield with 10,000 people, and Chicago, the rally that didn't happen, that Chicago tried to shut him out, and that kind of fun stuff. But but that really was that experience is getting out there, and tying it to kind of the current campaign. It's just awesome the opportunities I've had starting with a couple weeks ago. I got to meet Chloe Cole. So if you don't know who Chloe Cole is, she was a young girl who was literally badgered, coached, forced, pushed into transitioning, and then within a year of that process starting and happening, she pushed back. And
Oh, wow.
I'm going to give the short version of the story, which is, they pretty much said, no, you're going down this road where this is the quote unquote medical professionals and stuff. But she came out of that. She's speaking out. She's 21 years old now, beautiful young lady, but based in faith, family, freedom, Christianity, God-fearing. I mean, it was wonderful to meet her and hear her speak to the Illinois Right to Life group the other day. And I got to meet her at lunchtime with the congressman who's putting up the Chloe Cole Act, which I would be 100% for. I'm sure my opponent, left of the squad, Lauren, would be against it. But any other thoughts you have before we?
That's such a tragic story, but with such a great redemptive ending. I think that's a beautiful.
Yeah,
story.
I mean, and so she was one of 4 women that I got to see, and some I'd already met before, in the same week, that have these stories that they kind of got thrust into it. It wasn't things they were like,
not their choice.
It wasn't their choice. They got thrust in it, but to watch how they stepped up, they led. They're out there, they're kind of the preachers, if you will, the pastors,
Right.
if you will, on these topics. And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming back into the next segment. We'll be back Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr, Gretchen Fritz, right here on AM 560. So be back soon.
Freedom isn't free. You have to work for it. Now, more of Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr on AM 560. The Answer. Here's Jim.
I'm back with Gretchen Fritz. I'm Jim Martyr, your Republican nominee for U.S. Congress in the 14th District. And I want to go through a list of folks I've met on the campaign trail here. So Riley Gaines. So I actually met her in person at an AM 560 event a couple of years ago. My wife Jill and I got to talk to her, got to see her. It was with Amy and Sean and a couple other people, and they were asking. But that was my first experience to hear her. So backdrop is I was a swimmer in grade school, high school, 1 year in college, NCAA Division I. And I did look this up once. My best 100 time might actually beat Riley. Maybe she'd probably kick me out right now. But at any rate, so I was not anywhere close to even a top swimmer in swimming ranks, right? Sure. But I can swim better than 99.9% of all people out there, right? So
easily.
So it sees how the difference is. And I was also a coach. So I founded a swim team in Mapleton, Illinois with my high school buddy, Jimmy. And so we did that. We set it up. It's been running for 40-plus years. Later, I actually coached a USA swimming team in Michigan, ran a big meet, multi-team, and actually multi-country because we were near Canada, so we had some Canadian teams come in there, a USA swimming team, swimming club. ended up as the vice president of the club before we came to Illinois. Back to Oswego here in the 14th Congressional District, by the way. So when I heard what Riley experienced, both in the moment where she tied Leah, the guy, the man, the dude, right? And then her experience in the locker room. I'm getting angry, right? I'm like, I want to take somebody out here because I'm like, how did we get here? Because I was coaching age group swimming, so boys and girls from ages 5 to 18. Sure. Okay, I did that for about a total of 8 years, and so in my mind, what I heard Riley telling me was going on. I'm like, how did that happen? How do you get from where we were at to there? Mm-hmm. And if that had happened on any of that, I'd probably be tackling somebody, even if they were 10 times my size, probably get arrested, thrown in jail, that kind of stuff. I'm like, how did we get there? Well, this is your IHSA in Illinois. It's the NCAA. Mm-hmm. It's the politicians.
I was going to say, it's 8 years of Obama and 4 years of Biden.
And there you go. And
it's
there
a huge contributing factor.
Right.
It
DEI,
really accelerated during the Biden administration.
Yeah, it did. And so, but to be thrust in that position, and so here you got a girl at the time, young woman, having to and she told the story. I couldn't stop. I couldn't let this stand anymore.
Right.
So because they were indoctrinated too, they were like, you can't talk about this, that. Right. I mean, can you imagine that? You have coaches and staff and college professors telling you all this stuff as an athlete that you can't do any of this. Right. So when I swam, none of that happened. There was no meetings about politics, about how to address the media. We're just in the pool, 15 hours a week or more, doing a lot of work, and
she
none
was
of
really,
that stuff
Riley Gaines was really fortunate. It's hard to say that, but one aspect was that her college that she swam for did not muzzle her. They did not tell her that she had to shut up and sit down, and that was really what set her apart. One of the things that set her apart from other athletes that were thrust into that position was she was able to speak out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, that's not something that she chose for herself. It's something that she was thrust into. And, I think God prepares us for those things, even though we don't realize it. But she's done an excellent job on the speaking.
And I've got to
circuit.
see her speak, I think 3 times in the last year. Illinois Family Institute had her, Concerned Parents had her at their gala, and then she was at the Turning Point USA event in Lincolnshire just a few weeks ago. So I got to see her up close and personal again in all 3 of those, and just listen to the story, and my blood was boiling every time I heard that again. The other 2 folks, so Congresswoman Mary Miller came into that same Turning Point USA conference a couple days later, and she did talk about that. So the bill, H.R. 734, Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. So guess what? My opponent, Nurse Underwood, doesn't know the difference between a biological boy and a girl or a man and a woman, thinks there's more than 2 genders and sexes or whatever they are. I don't know. We don't do alphabet soup here. No. So, so you've got that in. Thank God for Congresswoman Mary Miller and these other women who are standing up, speaking out. I mean, where are the men? Come on, guys. Join me. Let's stand with the women, right? And let's start taking our country back.
Yeah,
let's
we need the dads to get involved for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And then that Turning Point USA event, again, it was their educator summit, but it was open to other folks like me and others that wanted to attend. And it was closed out by Erica Kirk. So, and we can't just talk about her without talking about Charlie. I mean, what an amazing person, American hero and martyr, Christian martyr.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie Kirk,
accomplished so much in such a short
It's amazing. Life. I did get to meet him briefly once. I actually got a couple pictures with him, a short video that he did for us, calling out the Oswego Republicans. And he retweeted me way back then. So
we actually had him on Target Radio before we had Charlie Kirk before
in
he was
studio?
Charlie Kirk in the studio.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It was right around the Edward Snowden time.
Yeah. So that was some of the stuff. We'll get to a few more things. I got to attend the 10th year anniversary of the House Freedom Caucus in D.C. last year. That was an amazing event. Got to meet and talk to a lot of congressmen. I hope to be with them and protect and save the American dream here in Washington. So.
There's things to be done all over the world, but let's rebuild America first.
You love this country. So do we. You're listening to Saving the American Dream with Jim Martyr on AM 560. The Answer.
And so I'm here with Gretchen Fritz, my co-host, wrapping up. This is Jim Martyr, your Republican nominee for U.S. Congress in the 14th District. And I want to talk a little bit about campaign math. So no red waves, okay, folks.
I don't want to hear anyone talking about a red wave in this cycle. If you say red wave, I will find you and I will slap you.
You want to be on the watch out for Gretchen, right?
Yes.
So she's gonna get you.
I mean, the only way that we actually have a red wave is if people don't believe there's going to be a red wave and they take action. They get off their butt and they either go to the polls and vote on election day, or they vote early in person, or they vote by mail. That's the only way we actually generate a red wave, is by not talking about it, by actually doing it.
Right. And I am an all of the above vote guy, just like I'm an all of the above energy guy. Don't let anyone tell you I want dirty air, water,
no,
and whatever, right? But
the Democrats don't get to own the environment,
right? They don't.
I've always said
I'm a
that.
conservationist first, right? A conservative conservationist.
There you go.
So we love. I was a swimmer. I love clean water.
That's
I mean,
right.
you don't want to swim in dirty water, right? So here's the deal: if we get the folks that turned out in 2024 to turn out again, the same folks. And the reason I say that is because typically in a non-presidential year, about 20+% of the voters that voted in the last election don't show up again.
Right.
But if I get the folks that already voted in 2024 to turn out for me in the 14th district, we win this race straight up.
Right. So if you
no
can
question
add 2020 to 2024, you get 2026.
Right. And so it's also about in your house, in your friends network, in your family, in your communities,
in your church,
work, whatever that is,
your
in
hobby
your clubs,
groups, yes. Yes.
ABATE. I'm an ABATE member, have their endorsement. Shout out to ABATE.
There you go. Illinois State Rifle Association.
Illinois State Rifle Association. I'm a longtime member there. NRA, whatever group you're in, Gun Save Lives, Second Amendment, 100%.
If you're in a garden club, if you're in a bird watching
Right.
group, if you're in a hiking group.
Find somebody that didn't vote, engage them a little bit, see where they were at, right? And they're, I don't vote because, God's coming tomorrow anyway. So, right? We believe that too, but hey, he wants you to vote. He did not excuse you from voting, right? Jesus did not say don't vote, okay?
God did not give us this country so that we could sit on our butts and take it for granted.
That's right.
I think, we have to show our gratefulness to God for this country by exercising our right to vote and by doing our civic duty of voting.
Yep. So, wrapping this show up, this campaign is about faith, family, and freedom. It's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That founding that was given to us 250 years ago. And we're here to defend it. Every generation must defend it, And Reagan famously said that,
Absolutely.
It's
not passed on in the bloodstream.
That's right. It's not passed on in the bloodstream. We must pass it on, defend it, and protect it, and let our children know that. And we'll do a full thing on that on a future show. But I just want to wrap up and say, we have to be out here defending this front line. We're looking for help in our campaign. So my website is martyr, MARTER, the number 4 Congress. .com.us will get you there. Info at Martyr for Congress. Email. It's on the website. Phone number 815-585-8006. If you want to get involved, help out, get out the vote in the 14th Congressional District and/or your district.
You could reach out through social media. Definitely reach out through social media if that's your preference.
Yep.
We will respond to your
God
messages.
bless America. Let's go out, celebrate 250. and let's continue the pursuit of happiness here.
Amen and amen.